right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the special meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. It is Monday, October 18th. It is 1 minute past 5. Please stand and join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carrie, are you running a Zoom?
Sorry?
Are you running Zoom for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recording.
Okay,
We
good.
just don't have our usual gallery.
He has a setup.
Is anyone zooming in?
Marsha.
Okay. Okay. Sharon will be joining us. Her visiting nurse appointment was running late, so she'll be here when she can be. I think what we'll do, if it's all right with fellow select board members, is just turn the meeting over to JP and have us walk us through what the project is inside and some of the things. And I sent you a list of things I was looking for. So if you could try, and then I think other folks have other questions. So,
You sent me a list.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see your list.
it was about right after you said, if you send me questions in advance, I can research them. So I did. And you didn't see it.
No.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's on record. Well, okay, but I did. So
Well, if you can print them out right now, I mean, you can see if we can address them.
I don't have anything, but I can try and remember the ones that, I don't know, did you guys get them? Because I think I sent them around to everybody. Yeah,
Probably. There was a lot of
Okay.
emails.
There was
Um,
a lot of emails.
That would be helpful.
so
Send that to all or just the board? Because we might have.
I don't think so. I think I sent it to JP and I may have copied the board. That's what I'm
I saw
guessing.
your initial two questions that I answered.
Okay.
There was another one.
There was a whole list of them because you wanted, let me just give you general categories. One is I was wondering anything in here that may be eligible for a special loan, lower loan rate, like energy efficiency stuff, or grants, like safety grants or energy efficiency grants are the ones that come to mind. I was hoping to find out where we were. I got a little feeling for this, the Senator Welch earmark. And wanted to make sure we were doing everything in that room for emergency management that we said we were doing in order to get the grant. Then there were the list of things we did wrong for the Center Rutland station, so we don't repeat them, like coverings over the door. Those are the big categories that I remember, but also just to walk through so the chiefs would know and we would know, we could ask questions about, oh, and the jury may be out on this one, but do we need a retaining wall? And we may not know the answer to that one yet.
Yeah, I mean, so far the way the material stacked out. So what happened was when we were excavating the lot, the soils engineer had estimated an east and north berm of fill that we knew would probably not be acceptable because contained asphalt and things of that nature. When they first went on the lot and started excavation, they only ran into about 5 or 6 feet of fill, which was pretty exciting because they had estimated more. So they were able to dig the hole for what's going to be the water tank out of virgin soil. So there was no compaction issues, it went real smooth. And then as they get about 10 or 20 feet further to the north of the building, the native soil just took a dive all the way down to the level of the adjacent field. And all that material had to be removed and replaced with other material and compacted in lifts to get it back up. So it's now back up and we're expecting concrete any day.
So do we know, do we not need a retaining wall?
We don't know that yet.
Okay,
Okay, Ed's working on that with the contractor, but he said if the fill came up to a certain level, if they were able to make that bank up to a certain level, it looked really good. We don't need the retaining wall, but we don't know the answer right now.
okay. Right. That'll save us.
That's where we're at. We're planning on, we're looking forward to the concrete coming. The footings are pretty much dug and filled with the material. Have you been on the site? Pretty amazing what they've
Hmm?
done.
Yeah,
Oh, you found it. Okay.
yeah, they got into exactly what I thought they were gonna get to in that back corner.
Yeah,
Did
Yeah.
I hit the big?
but could have been a lot worse too.
Yeah. Quite a bit of fill back there.
So
So-
the best estimates of the material side of it, and this was just grabbing at figures in the air, perhaps 100,000. But the savings of the wall would be a huge bite out of that.
Yeah. So it was almost, could be a wash, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're still gonna take a little bit of a hit on the site aspect of it,
Okay.
but certainly much less than it could have been.
Okay.
Via address met.
Good. Okay, Matt found my list.
All right, so other than the chiefs being satisfied, only one of them was here.
Right.
First up was energy efficiency items included.
Okay. Energy efficiency.
Yeah, I talked to Ed about that. No solar aspect of it. And as far as energy efficiency, all of the mechanical stuff that's being hot, like the boilers and stuff like that, that's all new and it's spec to the highest level of efficiency.
Okay.
I've not been involved in any of the grants, Mary, so as far as the status of that, I wouldn't be the one to ask. I know Ted has had his finger on that pulse.
That's the Welch earmark, and that's the room for emergency management.
So
This is something that the energy efficiency thing came up when Carrie and I were talking with the bond bank folks. And he said, hey, we've got a special that's just barely come in. You can borrow 2% at 2% for any 2% interest rate for anything that you're doing that is like energy efficiency. So I thought we better find out what we're doing that may qualify for
yeah,
that.
I mean, if some of the equipment does, we'll certainly, I'll make that information available to Ted and we'll see if that qualifies us.
To Ed.
Well, yeah, Ed and Ted. Ted's been doing all of our grant stuff.
He's been doing that grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this may be a direct thing that Ed may want to be aware of too. So.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Good.
But we did run into it on the Welch grant. We got a call from
Yeah.
oh, you heard
I
about
heard
this?
about this, but
Yeah.
tell.
And they said, well, we initially they were not going to proceed with the grant. It's like 1.2. And we said, why? Well, you started construction without us being able to come to the site. Well, Ted had given them the construction schedule, the start of the construction date, and the left hand hadn't talked to the right hand. And at the end of the day, they promised us they'd get it through, and we did receive confirmation that it's
Okay.
gone through.
Okay. And that's the 157.
Yes.
Okay, good. There was something about, we had to certify that there weren't any bats, but I think you took care of that, right?
Yes.
When you take the building down, there's nothing for bats to be
There
in.
was no bat shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bad studies.
you were about to say something about the emergency management, or should I leave that to Ted?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that the grant ran into a little stumble, but it's up and standing on its own again.
Okay. Okay, what else?
Okay, well, that was one of the questions. And also on the emergency management grant, when do we expect funding? We covered that.
Do they give any indication when the money would be coming through?
No, but Ted says you have to do so much construction and then certify where you are in terms of, and then the money starts flowing,
Okay,
was my understanding of it.
so we're a ways away from that. Yeah, okay.
Okay, next you asked, what are we reusing for materials, equipment, furnishings, et cetera, to save money?
Not much. There wasn't much that could be salvaged from that building. The generator, although it certainly had the capacity, wasn't the correct configuration. it was only 2-phase, and some of the equipment requires the 3-phase that had been spec'd in the project. So we are able to repurpose that generator to the highway garage.
Yeah, they were pretty excited about that.
And that's kind
We
of
remind
huge.
them
Yeah.
every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And that was kind of a huge benefit of, not being able to use it, McKinley.
Are we running 3-phase to that building? do you
Yes.
think?
Yep.
So that's coming from Route 7.
Yep, and it's already down at State Place. And they're gonna bring it up from there. I think it involves 7 poles, but they're gonna feed the building from the eastmost pole. They're not gonna go to that west pole where it feeds right now.
Okay.
But that west pole is gonna be replaced. There'll be a newer pole there and it'll be repositioned so that it doesn't stand in the way of our parking access.
Right.
Okay, things to avoid. So lessons learned from Center Rutland, you mentioned outside entrances being covered.
we'll start with that. You remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that we've addressed some of the deficiencies that we dealt with in Center Rutland was just to stay out of their way. A lot of the decisions in Center Rutland were made by the board and they didn't exactly fit the project. I mean, they took the low bidder for the architect.
Yeah.
With not a real great resume on having done public safety buildings to the point where they missed having to cover the exit doors with a roof. So there were some members of the board that wanted to use this architect because he's fastidious and he just grinds the detail and gives you the comfort level that everything's going the way it should. And when you do run into a situation like we did with the fill, he starts working with you immediately to ameliorate the costs and to work it out. So
But more directly,
They don't have to be.
do they have entrance covers?
No.
Or are they under the eaves? So we don't need to worry about that.
So there are no eaves. It's a flat roof building.
Okay, well, that
So you
answers
don't-
that
So
question.
you don't have the snow slide off like you would. in
Okay,
Center Rutland.
okay. Where does the water go?
Internal drains. So it's flat roof that's pitched to drains that run down through the inside of the building,
Okay,
like a commercial type structure, like the Cortina per se. Maybe that's a bad example, but
example.
maybe that's a bad example
Just
of it.
not.
but-
yeah, better drains.
Is runoff directed away from walkways and parking to avoid winter icing?
yes, that's one benefit of that site was we have plenty of places to drain water.
Good.
Okay.
Sufficient parking for visitors as well as staff.
Yes, and we have plans for future parking towards the north end of the lot, but right now we have enough parking to support operations and some visitors.
Did we get rid of the electric car chargers? Were those actually a thing, or was that just a?
Yeah, no, I didn't understand that to be a real thing.
Okay,
I
because
think it was,
I remember that got brought up in a
Yeah,
meeting. I'm like,
It was
Okay.
like we could
yeah,
add that, but I don't think it got further than that.
good.
Um, and
I
yeah,
didn't want to have to charge his Prius at the station.
okay.
Oh, when we buy them an electric.
Yeah, when we buy
Right.
him a Prius for a cruiser,
Those
he didn't want to have to
electric fire
charge it.
trucks, yeah. Okay,
Okay. Are bollards / barriers needed anywhere?
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
Bollards or barriers, and remember, we ended up putting the big planter in front so that people wouldn't run into the fire station.
right.
What protection do we have around so people don't run into the building?
Yeah, there's none designed that I'm aware of right now, but that wouldn't be a big add-on.
Okay, so should it be raised as a ed question?
I certainly will follow up with them.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, thanks. And do we have what, propane? We had tanks at Center Rutland that we had to put the bollards around, right? Yes,
They're underground.
they're underground at
We
this
have
one.
bollards in front of the bay doors.
Okay,
In front of between each bay door.
Yeah, because Center Rutland's propane, right? Are we propane or oil?
Propane.
Propane up here.
Okay. And the heating for the new building, is that oil or propane?
Propane,
Okay. And that's all underground.
yes.
Okay. Hey, next up on your list was the retaining wall, but we talked
Yep,
about
we
that.
talked about that.
So what is the signage and exterior lighting like?
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully bright.
Let me see if I can find an elevation for that. No, he doesn't have the actual elevations. These are the actual construction plans. We do have elevations of the building, Matt, that I can get to you that show the different configurations of the building.
Are those the ones that we had displayed so voters could see it?
Yes.
And we had them up at the open house?
They are.
Yeah, okay. I don't remember what it showed for lighting, but
I mean, there's a slight sketch of what will be the McKinley elevation on the front of the plans that you can take a look at, that kind of shows it to you.
okay.
What was the question? I didn't hear Matt.
About lighting and signage.
All right.
Was
So that
was
was
your
it.
list.
That was my list. Oh. Kurt and Matt, Kurt had a suggestion about water fill.
Yeah, the water fills for the fire trucks.
Let me just interrupt you for a
Okay.
minute. So Matt, there is a lighting plan
Okay. This was,
elevation, but I can't make any sense of it. You're free to come over here and take a look at it.
Anything to me?
that was my question. No, I'm, just want to make sure that,
Alright,
Specified downcast lighting, Matt.
well,
you
that is
got-
usually required. Yeah.
Occupancy
yeah, these are like
Design
parking lot lamps.
because of the neighbors
Okay.
across the street
Oh, yeah.
And the
especially-
bays.
and.
These are some sort of
Proximity
spotlight
to
by
the
the
street.
looks.
So it's
Motion
supposed to be
activated?
downcast.
They're probably photo eye, I would assume.
Luminaires, vacancy, occupants. Oh, this is,
They're normally photo eye, so they turn on when it gets dark.
okay.
Even high bay lights in the truck bays. And those are ceiling tile, 2 foot square LED lights. by the looks.
Okay, that's good. That's energy saving stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
and exterior, is there exterior sign?
I don't know about the signage. I hope there's some big sign here saying police with maybe a sign over here directing some people down there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that might be after the fact
Yeah.
thing. I don't know how in depth they went with
I
this.
think that really should be a board decision on the signage where you guys want it.
Yeah. I can be
I thought you didn't want us meddling.
that can be an Eddie
When it
Newman.
comes to that kind of detail, I think you're the only ones that can, for the aesthetics of it. As long as it meets the technical.
Well, that's what, yeah, it has, that's more what, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing things.
Yeah.
So, because that's an added cost, and if we have to wire for the signs, we should do it now before.
Oh, no, the lighting, if anything was gonna be lit, and I'm sure it's covered in here, but I can ask Ed to point me to the appropriate drawing for that.
Do we have a plan for the truck bays in there?
Yeah. There's a really good index.
Did you
I
have?
was just curious because I saw a set of plans at one point where the proposed fill was for the fire truck. It doesn't appear to be in the handiest of places.
PDF.
Yes, you did. Yes.
These are all like the things that are on it. The financial part of it.
Right here. So this is where the 2.5 fill is for the fire trucks.
Okay.
So, okay.
Have you you guys seen this? Where the fire truck fill is? Like it's way on the side of the bay.
On the east side.
Yeah, and so like,
That's just for a pickup truck.
oh, this is a 2.5 inch fill to fill the trucks with. You know, a center route when it comes down between the bays.
It's down right on the most east bay.
By the garage.
Yeah.
So this is all way over here. So if you have an engine parked over here,
Right.
you're gonna need quite a bit of 2.5 to get across all the way to fire trucks to fill this fire truck.
No, can we take this truck out, back that one in, fill it, and then go back?
Well, you just run 2 lines, one here, one here.
I have water coming down here, I have water coming down here, water coming here, and water coming here.
Garden hose water.
Yeah.
I'd stub 2.5, one here and one here. Then you can fill these trucks here and these trucks here with a rubber 25-foot
Okay,
hose.
the only time we're gonna fill those trucks, and Chris, come here.
I can hear you.
The only time we're gonna fill those trucks is in the middle of the winter if we absolutely have to. That is more dedicated for the sprinkler system than anything else. So if we need to rob a little water, we can rob it, but we're not gonna make a habit of filling trucks there.
Oh, I'm just saying, if you come back
Yeah.
from car fire and you need to fill a truck,
Yeah,
you can park it in its bay, and then you only need a
Yeah.
25-foot hose to fill them.
I can put that in the. That's an add-on. I don't wanna do it.
Now's the time.
No, but I know. But like I said, the game was if we had to fill our truck in an emergency. That was it.
Just wanted to raise that point.
Yeah, well, it's a good
that,
point.
That would
but-
be my suggestion, is to put 2.5 right here in between the bay doors. So, up to you guys.
You can override me. on that one.
I don't need to override you guys. You're gonna be the ones living with it.
Yeah, and in my case, I don't know enough about this. I just raised the issues that,
I mean, would it be a lot of cost? I mean, what would you think? I mean, it's,
You're talking like some 2-inch, you know,
I mean,
2-inch black
I mean,
iron.
it's convenience, right? And if it
It-
costs
The,
extra
the
200
tank,
bucks.
that tank's not there to fill engines. It's like Dale said, in an emergency or a bad situation where you need to top off a tank, sure enough, but it shouldn't be the main source of filling because we're gonna be straining the well.
Yeah, but I
Now,
think-
if it comes to pass that we can get on city water at that site at some point in time, yeah, maybe we can retrofit something, but for now, it's just not suitable for filling the tanks on
I
a.
think
cons-
Ed oversized that cistern by almost 10,000 gallons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can put 1,000 gallons on a truck and not harm it at all.
so where do you fill the
If
trucks
I
now?
believe, we dropped that from 30,000 to 20,000, that tank, right? Am I correct on that? I'm pretty sure.
I'll have to check. I remember a discussion about it. I don't
We did,
remember
I
what
believe
the
we dropped
decision
that
was.
from, 30,000 to 20,000. That's mainly for the sprinkler system.
But I mean, I would, and if it's, why wait till the future to put it in? We don't have to use it, right? I mean, if you're already piping stuff up there,
Well, it seems like, you know, before you drywall everything, just running a pipe would be a lot.
and we don't have to use it. But if why wait till 5 years down the road and then say, oh yeah, we can start using something like that and add it then
That's if you get city water.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But who's saying you gotta use this now? I mean, it's
Or we
there.
decide to drill another well someday with
But-
some extra money.
And
That's
I
why
You have to
heard,
go to China to get a better draw. We went down pretty deep on that new one.
Yeah, it was 650, I think, or 700.
Ooh.
Was it 875? Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, I'm done with my questions, but I don't know enough to ask good questions.
Where do you?
Are you, excuse me, Don,
No,
are you
had a
folks
question.
satisfied?
are we
with-
satisfied?
Have you seen the plans? Have you gone over them? Are you satisfied with what's going in?
Right now, just going by what the plan said earlier.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna know until we start building. But everything that we wanted, we put in there.
Yeah.
and we're happy with that.
So that was the
So-
sketch. That was the diagrams, the layout and that
Right.
sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay. So the deep dive stuff is over there.
They participated in all the deep dive stuff to the extent that the architect gave them what they were asking for,
Okay. Okay,
right? You guys sat down, you told him what you wanted, he drew it out.
We drew it out, yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure.
I-
Because if we
yeah.
have to add stuff later, it's a change order and it's gonna cost us money. So I'm trying to avoid
And that's
that.
why I didn't want to change that, because when we designed that water system, it was just for an emergency if we wanted to fill a truck.
Okay.
We weren't taking into consideration that 5, 10 years, we may be getting city water up there. If we did get city water up there, they could still pipe it in, but it'd be on the outside of the wall.
And Mary, you asked a question, follow-up of where do you generally?
Yeah, where do you fill your trucks now?
We fill up at the, wherever we're at a fire, before the truck leaves, we usually fill it up right there at the site.
So if it's in the city, you fill it up with city water and it's
We
just
fill it up
done.
at Knoll Village there. We have the keys to that. We can
Okay.
fill up there. But usually we fill up wherever we're at. We fill up right there before the truck leaves. They're usually full.
Okay,
Or we go to a hydrant and fill up.
okay.
So,
Realistically, is there a thought in mind or a plan that eventually we will have city water on that site?
No, but I do know it's down, I think it's down at 7 now, isn't it? Yeah,
No, it's across the street at the Armory, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't
it's at
that
the
the
Armory.
closest one?
okay.
That was the
By
problem.
Paul's
Yeah.
Cleaners, there's one, the other side of Paul's Cleaners too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if somebody would ever develop then such that they would want that water done or not.
So the state didn't get it when they put that, their buildings in.
State place? No, I don't believe they're on city water.
Wells. Not in city sewer, but they have wells.
Matt, do you have any questions?
I know I had the floor plan at one point, but I don't know that I still have it. Can you remind me of what there is for rooms in there as far as police and fire and how that was broken down?
Sure, so when you're facing McKinley, that elevation will be the fire trucks. There's 4 bays for that. There will also be like an extension of the building to the east towards State Place. And along there will be 3 bays. One is for another fire department truck. One is for a police cruiser and the other is the Sally Port. And that's at the furthest northeast corner of the building. And that Sally Port leads into a secure area where you process people after they're arrested. And then within the police department part of the building, there's a troop room that will accommodate up to 6 officers. There's a chief's office, an assistant chief's office, an IT room, a storage room, and there's a reception area where somebody will interact with the administrative support staff for police when they first come in the police entry. The entry to the police station will be on the west elevation. There'll be 10 to 12 parking spaces along that elevation. And you'll enter the police station that way. There'll also be side entrance for the fire department. So if the guys park there during a call, they can get in the side. They don't have to walk around to the front of the building to get in. In the fire department, they have offices for storage for the chief and the assistant chief. They also have an IT room for all the servers. And both facilities will share a conference room, which is sitting opposite the police entry on the west elevation. And that conference room will also act as an emergency operations center should we have another Irene type event. That's pretty much a layout of it.
Any other questions from the select board?
Are we still putting the household washer and dryer, clothes washer and dryer in it?
No,
Okay. I know it was on the plans at one point.
Yeah. no, we upgraded our act a little bit on that
Yeah.
one. yes.
I'll save a couple $1,000.
The chief satisfied?
Getting the air compressor and the grants didn't go as planned, so we're still getting them.
The yes, everything in the plan that was requested is, as I understand, from the mechanical point in the plans.
Oh, like a regular air compressor or cascade? Oh, the cascade system? Is it the cascade system?
Yes. Yeah, there's room for that. We planned for that.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, JP.
Sure. I'll follow up on those other two questions and get with the, get an email out.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
You stand up.
I'm the one that opened it.
Other business. Don, you have something?
Oh, you talking bond or done with that?
Well, Carrie didn't have anything.
Well, I was hoping that tonight the select board, but it looks like just 3 of you,
Yeah,
would
all we
determine
need.
if they were going. So that we could get that started.
yes. I mean, I think we should start the application anyway. My hunch is that, the bond rate that we got was around 4% at the time.
My feeling is the bond as well.
Yeah,
So both you and JP have copies of that.
Yeah.
The financial part of it, I was telling you, I feel comfortable filling out like the taxes and all of that.
Mhm.
But it goes into great detail about building and material and stuff like that. So that I do not feel comfortable.
okay. So,
I've got a copy of the questionnaires and I'll be getting that filled out.
okay, good. So back to the select board. Do we do bond or
What was the mortgage rate?
they
showing
told
at?
us, we'll tell you what the rate is at the time that, we commit, you sign, and
Alright.
I will tell you that, I was looking into, for another reason, some borrowing, not anywhere near this amount, obviously, but the interest rates are, the lowest one was 7% and the higher ones are 8.5.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's going to be cheaper if we go the conventional mortgage route with the bank.
Well, the only perk
But
is you
we-
can pay it off quicker.
Yes,
That's the only perk to it.
it is. There was that information we got from the bond guy that said there is a readjustment about 7 years in. I don't know if you remember that, JP.
I did, and I tell you the truth, I didn't understand how it worked. Just
Yeah.
that if you got to year 7 and certain criteria were met, that you might be able to prepay something, prepay the balance or.
Yeah, that was sort of the impression I got, or there was an adjustment where we were given a credit or something like that. Hey, Joe. Yeah, Sharon's gonna be late too, and well,
I was thinking it was 5:30.
okay. So JP just went over some of the questions that I had, answers to some of the questions I had raised, and there's a
To your
couple-
satisfaction?
well, he's gonna look into it. I just don't want to make the same mistakes because we're gonna look like idiots if we make the same mistakes that we made in Center Rutland. So I guess I asked about bollards and protecting the building. That was one thing, because we ended up building a planter system out front. Drainage is better, so we're not gonna have the ice runoff in the parking lot that we had over here.
Awnings over the windows, over the exit?
Well, the answer is it's a flat roof, so all of the drainage
Good, good.
is interior,
Yeah.
so we don't
So
have
we
to
don't
worry
have
about
that snow load. Yeah.
We still don't know exactly about the retaining wall, but it's with the rubble that was found in the build out. It may be that it won't cost us,
Or needed at all.
well, it's
Do you know
gonna
any more
cost us
about
a
that?
little something.
You haven't heard anything back from things, yeah. Because they're right out to the property line now with the
Yeah.
building, which is pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he said if they had enough material to be lateral with the lot, that we might stand a really good chance of avoiding that retaining wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only question I had for you, JP, that I'd ever asked was about the switch from single phase to three phase. And I believe that's because of the fire pump.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, I guess I'm not overly concerned, other than maybe if we'd have talked about it sooner with the electrical engineers, from what I've seen with Center's building, they tend to over engineer. You know, and maybe we could have put in if that's the only one, maybe a single phase pump for what little that runs, might have saved us some money on the other end, but
Here's a question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
If the three phase is just for that fire pump up there?
Yeah.
Waste of money.
well, I don't know if that is, and like I said, that was something I didn't know. I don't know if any of us knew that until they had, somewhere along the line, it came up, said that they had to change the power. In the preliminaries, that didn't come up. We didn't ask those questions in the beginning, so.
We've put a fire pump in like that before in a water cistern. That was three. That had to be three phase, whether it could have been
Single or not.
could have been single or not. I don't know. We never asked those questions because the site we were on already had three phase.
Yeah.
But
Apparently that's state of the art for an emergency building.
yeah,
Now it's three phase.
Well,
I bet you that's 60 or 70,000 to upgrade that to three phase. That we have to pay GMP.
there's a significant, there's a cost there,
You
and
don't know what that is? You don't know what that
and I don't
costs?
know, JP, if we'd have argued the point, whether we'd have changed their minds with electrical, because Center Rutland Station, I think I told you this, has a 400 amp service. And remember when we talked about it, Mike? They said, what are you gonna be running, a machine shop?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, our farm's only 200, and we had like 5, 6, 7 motors, anywhere from 3 to 5 horse running together. And it's only a 200, so I think they tend to over design some stuff.
It's not like the fire station or the police is adding a lot of extra, power uses.
And anything the police would be using is all mostly electronics, which don't draw big current. So my guess is the possibility of a SCBA filling station, that compressor might be three phase, and the fire pump. Those would be the only two motors. You're gonna have a regular air compressor for tools and stuff, right? And
It's for the electric car chargers.
what electric car charges? Did I miss that?
That came up,
I think-
what meeting was that came up in?
Got electric, but.
That was one of
I
those
don't know if maybe you're
meetings
gonna have
came up
electric trucks.
Was
I
that
don't
a
know.
bill question? It might have been a bill
So-
question to
Was it gr-
ask if,
Yeah.
because this would be the
It was a
opportunity.
grant, tell you that.
So is that a question
Poking the bear. is what I think.
do we ask that question now if we can switch to a single phase fire pump?
I think that would have to, well, I would ask it. I think they're
Yeah.
gonna say the whole building is then engineered for three phase, but
Yeah,
It's
but they're
just one
probably
circuit.
they're probably just pulling three phase and then they're gonna pull 220 legs off it anyway.
everything in the building's 110 or 220.
Generators, three phase.
The generator that's coming is three phase,
Yeah, they can wire that.
but if, that would be more expensive, but it would have to be three phase for the circuit for that, but if they change the fire pump to single phase, then you could get away with a single phase generator, and
We're gonna
you'd have to go back
we're
up,
gonna
take
go
Dave's
steal
generator
Dave's
back.
generator.
You can do that.
Yeah, not me.
Well, I mean, GMP hasn't started setting poles yet, so maybe that's a
I
question.
mean, it's a
to
question to ask, JP, if you don't mind. I don't think they'll change their mind, and I don't know how much that changes the wiring in the building, because it's only one circuit. Theoretically.
ask. I can think of.
You can just check on that air compressor for the Cascade. That might be three-phase motor.
Well, but you could probably get them either way.
Yeah, they do. I know.
What happened, the
Warren
difference
could ask
between
one.
them is when you start a three-phase motor, it draws half the amps of a single-phase motor. So a 20 amp three-phase motor is gonna draw about 24 amps to start. If it's single phase, it's gonna draw 48 amps to start. And I don't know what that motor is on that fire pump, if it's 20, but that's about the only bugaboo I saw in the whole thing, was that.
Okay.
But the rest of it looks fine.
Okay.
Where'd they all go? They all left. The equipment's gone. Where'd they go? Do you know? Fabian,
Ready for concrete.
are they?
Yeah, they had to get that equipment out of there because you said that.
Because the east side isn't formed, though, is it? Or,
Footer is, yeah. the
Is it?
footer Trench and everything's all stone and ready.
yeah, it looked like, I didn't crawl around there last night. I told you the gate was open, so I wanted to see if somebody was in there, but I
I
didn't.
went in before I came to the meeting here now.
Yeah.
Pretty well ready to go.
Okay,
Good.
cool. That's pretty much it. I told you I talked at length with Chris about your part of it and you're happy.
Okay,
Nobody here from the PD, I guess they're out,
they're satisfied.
they're all protecting us somewhere.
Or- Yeah,
The
Who
only,
knows?
the only question I raised, Joe, was the truck fills.
Yeah.
You know, there's just one truck fill on the east side of the bays
Yeah.
instead of them coming down between the bay doors, but
You guys are good with it?
they seem good with it, so.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, Joe, that's just for an
Emergency,
emergency.
right.
It's-
'Cause any water you-
Habit of filling trucks up there.
Well, if you got home at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's 20 below zero and you need 500 gallons in one, you're gonna take it out of that tank and fill it. That's pretty much it. Or you go to Center Rutland and do it off the main, because that's what we
Usually
were.
we fill up before we leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually we fill up before we.
I
leave.
know. Yeah. It's only in an emergency. Otherwise, as long as you guys are happy.
so
the
we had
firefighters are
shifted over
attending.
to the question of bond or conventional borrowing.
Yeah,
And, you know,
you know where I stand on that. I like the idea of a conventional loan. The only thing I don't like about it, I think Carrie told us it's 10 years max, right? 10 years for,
Some banks, yeah. Yeah.
or can we find a bank that'll go longer than 10?
I'm not sure. We're gonna have to do some research,
And what that means is
time and.
if you go with a conventional loan and it's only 10 years, your payments are gonna be higher,
yes.
but your interest will be lower in 10 years than it would be in, if you go over, that's what you gotta compute. You gotta compute
Yes,
20
over
years
time.
on the bond.
Yes,
Center's building, we borrowed $2 million and the interest is between 725 and 750 on that. So if this building is, we're gonna be borrowing, would we figure about the same amount, a little more, 2.5,
2.5.
2.5. So I don't know, I can't say offhand what the difference in rates is right now.
Now, probably.
They're up, I would say, but maybe not.
Bond is maybe 4.
Yeah.
Maybe a little higher by the time we do it. The conventional borrowing, remember they said, we're not gonna give you a rate until you,
To commit.
but you know, around, I was shopping around for one, it's between, not that high, but between 7% and 8.5.
So I think what we do is we take and look at,
Don't they say, didn't they say that we have to bid out for our interest rates?
We can put together, and I think we had some examples. I think we shared them with you folks.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when a town says, we want to borrow money. Banks, please give us a proposal.
okay,
And then banks called in. Now, if we want to do that, we have to do it like immediately. And then that will give us some rates to compare against the bond. But if we want to, we need to decide to do that just to see what's out there.
I think what we do is we take the current interest rate on $2.5 million conventionally and to the bond bank and compare them. One, you're gonna pay off in 20 years, one in 10, and see what the interest is. And if the interests are fairly comparable, then I would go with a conventional loan, even though the payments will be higher, because should we collect more 1% money, or we end up in a situation where we could pay it off sooner or pay more, we can do that. But with a bond, we can't do that. We tried doing that with Center.
We tried,
Yeah,
we were just talking a little bit about the 7-year adjustment thing, which I don't completely understand. I don't know, maybe Carrie has a better handle on it.
The 20-year would be 8%, 7.
No,
8%.
that was, the bonds are about
Bonds.
4% for
Bonds
20
are
years,
4%.
for 20 years.
So if you went to a conventional bank, is that what you're talking about, 7, 8%?
It's possible. We don't know because you gotta ask them. That's what you're saying.
That's
It's like
the
putting it out to bid. We
Yeah.
want to borrow 2.5 million from
Asking for
somebody.
proposals.
What can you give us for a price? Over a 10-year or 12-year? I'd like to, if
I
you
heard
could,
that brought up several times.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, if you go 10 years, it's gonna be a draw on the taxpayers.
It will, and that's part of the issue.
that the payments will be higher, but in the long run, if there's a significant interest savings, the overall cost will be less.
That's something.
And that's what we've got as a board. That's what we've got to decide which way we want to go.
So Carrie, it looks like
First step, what do we need to do? We need to.
we need to put out a request for banks to bid on our proposal. On 2.5 million and we can say at 10 years
Should we
or
say up
15
to
years or 20.
2.5? Because we'll be in that 2.2 to 2.5 or 2 point,
Well, I think we'll be at 2.5, frankly.
you think so?
So how did this work the last time you guys did this?
We didn't.
Remember?
We
We just went,
with the
to the
bond.
bond bank and got a bond.
So,
Nobody talked about conventional loans.
Take short-term loans out, in anticipation of tax.
Yes.
And they,
Yeah.
and some of the local banks used to have what they call the municipal rate. And it
Yeah.
was almost half of the commercial rate.
Well, we know
I'm
of
really
two banks now
curious.
that won't do municipal loans. TD Bank is our regular and they won't. And Heritage Family, they won't. So and they feel like maybe they should, but I don't know why they're not, because towns are actually better risks.
You would
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, towns are not likely to, unless we're
They
really
probably-
mismanaged, we're
They
not.
probably
Does
don't
that
wanna
mean they
compete
don't?
with the other big banks municipal rate, is what it
Does
is.
that mean they don't
But-
make a loan at all? or
But
they
it would
just
be
don't get
nice to have
special
the
rate?
business local,
They don't-
wouldn't you think? Like TD Bank is a Canadian,
Probably
bank,
not.
right?
They don't have a special rate for
You would think they would
municipalities.
jump at it.
But then frankly, I
So
don't
who
know.
else we got?
I don't know.
Citizens Bank maybe? or-
So-
Banks everywhere.
when we were talking with John,
Yeah,
he said that we didn't really know if this was gonna go this way, so now that it is, I can reach out to him. Cause he said that he may have contacts for certain banks, because it's an email process.
it is.
It's not a put it in the paper process, it's an email process, so
Right, yeah.
basically.
We're asking them, we're inviting them to bid.
If their last name sounds like it's Italian, maybe you stay away from that.
So if,
So I'll reach out to him tomorrow. We'll see
Okay.
if he can get me some names, a big email list. and
Okay.
then we have to come up with a template to send that out.
okay, he sent us a couple of examples. So do you want me to come over, work on it with you?
Call in the morning, see where I'm at with this, with the other stuff I have to do.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I will make the goal, depending on what John can get me by tomorrow, seeing if he can get me some names at least. I gotta do this in baby steps, you know, so.
Yeah,
I'll
'cause we
email
haven't
him
done it.
first thing. I'll say, could you get me these names? Depending on his schedule, we'll see if I can get some names.
Okay. all
That'll
right.
be half the battle.
And if you think of it, how long do banks usually have to get a proposal in?
Yeah, I can ask him that.
Yeah, okay.
That's definitely doing our due diligence.
Yeah, let's see what's out
Look
there.
at both. I mean, we would probably, and I don't think you see a lot of towns going to conventional loans. They usually go to a bond.
No, I
And
think Killington went to a conventional.
But we'll see. Maybe you can ask them where they got their money.
Should be good. Yeah, yeah.
That
There's
7 year, the 7 year audit or whatever you call it.
Adjustment, something,
That'd be
something.
interesting to know maybe a little bit more on that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. There's somebody out in California with 1.7.
okay, because we are gonna have to do this. If we're going with the bond bank, if we decide it's the bond bank, the application is due December 15th. So
And-
we've got we've got a holiday
Yeah.
intervening.
And
And
then when
we're
would,
down to, we've got 2 months,
when is the
basically.
next time? Don't they do it on?
every 6 months.
mean,
So
it
we're
would
gonna
be-
miss.
it would be
If you
June.
saw the payment schedules that JP got,
Yeah.
we're gonna run out of the ARPA money by February or March. So we need the money coming in. That's about the time the bond money would be available. We apply the 15th of December. We don't actually get the money until into February, March.
Okay, so that
So
would
we
be,
have to hit that.
Right.
If that's
The,
what we're going to do.
so we'll spend most of the funds we have about, what we have about 2.8, 3 million.
2.9.
Spend most of the funds by February.
By February, that'll be pretty much gone.
February.
So if we
So-
can get that together in 2 months, that kind of works perfectly.
So my question is, 2 people have the PDF. Anybody else want it? so that you can fill in your necessary for the bond application.
So who needs it? Who do you think has the information that needs it?
I know
JP
that you
has the
know
information
that
for what we're
information.
building. Yeah,
I think that Ed would provide that to you, JP, I think.
There are a lot of questions from the bond bank,
This is the bond bank application, yes.
several pages.
Looks like quite a
It's
few.
several, yes. It's
15,
asking
20.
for a lot of things on my part and a lot of things internally on the part of what.
Do we
what
need
the
to hire?
Is what it's going to be
counsel?
used for, what's in it.
Okay.
stuff like
I'm
that.
looking at the email with the
he
list
has
of,
to certify anyway.
You know, it's kind of funny.
Kevin
because
has
you
to do a
wouldn't think that
certification. And we need bond
working
counsel,
with a
which is
municipality to
another
borrow
thing if we
money
go
that
to bond route.
that's what I
trying to
mean.
pull the wool over
I'm
somebody's
looking at
eyes
this
and
email with the list.
do
of
some, you know, this is,
Ah,
He said not a
From
lot.
Ken Ling.
He hardly ever rejects anybody, but it's just the process. I don't know what they use that information for, and I hate to leave it blank.
yeah,
because the part of that payback early is that they explained too, is that people invest in bonds. That's how they make money.
yes,
And so they make their money by the interest that's made on that loan. That's why you can't pay it back quickly.
okay, I'll call you tomorrow. We'll see if we can get. Okay, thank you. And Matt reminds us we need to line up bond counsel if we go the bond route.
He does ask that, yes.
Yeah. So maybe Kevin can help with that.
Who do we
Is
need?
that a question to him?
No,
There's somebody that does that. Who
Well,
did
Giuliani,
it? Right.
it's a list. He's retired.
yeah, but what's the firm though? Is it? Oh,
He
Oh.
finished with Primer Piper, I think.
Primer Piper.
They're still on Elijah
But
Emerson from
I
that.
We
I
gotta
think
find a
they've
new
taken over.
victim
There's
or helper.
7 people on the list. So
Okay, okay. Alrighty. Give you a call. We'll get that process going. All right.
I have a copy of Marie's one from 2013.
Good.
For you to see what sort of information she put on there back then
Okay, good.
with that. So maybe between all of us, we can get this figured out.
Yes.
Yeah, they should be able to help us too with people that do this for a
Oh,
living
yeah, he's
should
such a-
be able
Yeah.
to get us through it.
Okay, is that it on the fire station, public safety building? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Don, you had a something. Thank you, JP, very much. This is under other business.
Yes.
Yes, and good evening. Sitting here as tax collector now, delinquent tax collector.
John.
Next door.
So I received an email from an individual called Michael Perry. His name is Michael Perry. And he's asked me for some information that I can't provide unless you provide it to me. So that's why I'm here this evening. I'll read you the request. So it says, "Dear Don, this email communication is a formal request for a copy of your mortgage foreclosure excess funds list, which I believe is maintained by your department," which is not. At least it isn't right now. In case of any confusion, the excess funds to which I am referring are those arising in the case of a bid over the amount of the mortgage owed at the mortgage foreclosure or trustee's foreclosure sale. I am only looking for uncollected surplus funds. The information I need from the records is the foreclosure sale date, owner's name, either the property address or owner's mailing address, and the amount of surplus funds held. If you have these records in electronic format, I'd prefer the information that way. Otherwise, please let me know how much a hard copy of your list will be and where and to whom to mail the check. If you do not maintain a list of these surplus amounts, any advice on how I could collect that information from existing files you have would be very much appreciated. If I have reached the wrong department, I would very much appreciate this mail being forwarded to the correct department with a carbon copy sent to me. If there's anything I can do to aid or expedite the process, please let me know, as I'm eager to do whatever I can to make your job easier. Thanks in advance, Michael Perry.
Who's he with?
Doesn't say.
Do you have a list of excess, whatever it is he's requesting?
No,
Okay. Do you have any chunk of money that is excess proceeds that the town is holding on to
the only
that you're
one,
aware of?
the only one that I'm aware of, because the only foreclosure sale that we've had is the property that we just sold to Mark Foley, I believe, the one that
That
no.
wasn't foreclosure, that was tax.
tax foreclosure, right?
That was tax sale.
Yeah. Is
Tax sale.
Yes.
that what are you looking for?
We haven't closed on that, so there is no pot of money.
Doesn't sound like what he was asking though, unless he didn't correctly state what he was asking. It sounded like he was talking about private foreclosures. I don't know why
Yeah.
we'd have any information.
We don't
about-
have that. That doesn't, that's
Yeah.
not,
No,
we're not a
what does
bank.
it say?
Right.
Now, if he's looking for money from a tax sale like that particular where that property was sold 13 years ago. And now we sold the property, the difference between what was owed and what we
Well,
got.
I understand the
Well-
calculation, but that gets into a legal issue that we're not gonna be,
No, and it's also, that's not necessarily, well, maybe it's foreclosure. It almost sounds like, that's a question you'd ask a bank.
Ask who, Joe? I
A
didn't,
bank, you know, like if a bank, if they foreclose on somebody's property and they repossess it and that property gets sold. And the person owed
Yeah,
250
yeah.
and they get 300, well,
Yeah.
the owner gets the excess. But we've never foreclosed on a you know.
we don't foreclose. We
well,
don't-
no, but I mean, when I,
Does he
s-
use the word foreclosure?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, mortgage foreclosure or trustees foreclosure sale. I'm only looking for uncollected surplus funds, none.
It's mortgage.
I don't
I
understand.
don't understand it.
I don't understand that term either, because uncollected surplus funds, what would be uncollected surplus funds? Obviously, if whether it's a tax sale or a foreclosure sale, if the funds are paid, then obviously they're not uncollected,
Right,
they've been collected and
Right.
paid to the town.
yeah.
But in trying to figure out what he meant, I did some research and apparently, well, you got a legal thing that you got to deal with as a board with that particular sale, but the town is not authorized to hold anything in excess of what it's owed plus legal collection fees.
It sounds like
or-
it would be a
Pardon me?
it sounds like a state of Vermont question for uncollected funds. Like if a bank foreclosed and they get an excess amount, like Joe,
Yeah, maybe.
and the owner hasn't collected it at some point, they may just throw it up to the state and let
And
it goes on
his-
the
other
uncollected
thing,
missing property list.
the other thing, it's way too broad. I mean, what is he talking about? Is it the past year? Is it the past 15 years? What, so,
I would
Oh.
return the email, said your email and questions are confusing and I'm not sure of what you're asking or when you have to be more specific or something. That's just, I have no clue what he's asking, like, I
Yeah,
don't think anybody in this room does. Because
Carrie is treasurer. Do you maintain a list? Do we have a pot of money which are collected or on? No,
Our-
okay.
when,
I've gotten those emails.
when
you know,
somebody
they're
has,
not-
Well, do you,
We don't have excess funds.
have you researched what you would do when this sale consummates?
Don? Leave it, please. We are in discussion with our attorney about this.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
I think this is somebody on a fishing expedition
Yeah,
looking for something and I
fishing, PH.
think that if you,
Yeah,
I would follow Carrie's advice.
yeah,
Delete it and don't even respond. If it's a legitimate thing, they'll get back to us.
Well, I haven't,
Right.
nor did I intend to, but I wanted to get an answer if we
I have
had
no
one.
idea because sounds more like what you are, whether we keep, like if somebody has a mortgage on their property, on a house,
yeah.
they file it. We have that record, right?
Yeah.
If that house were to be foreclosed on,
Mhm.
do we get any kind of information from the bank?
Eventually.
Yes.
Okay,
We get a judgment order from the court.
Yeah.
okay. And then when it's paid off, does the paperwork we have go away? Or I see what I'm wondering is this
No, it's land records. They
land rent.
send
So what I'm
to
wondering is
people.
if,
Yeah.
he's looking for, like, if the theoretical property, that's 250,000 is owed. We know there's a mortgage on it. You have a record of that, and then that property gets sold. Do we get a copy when it's sold? Do you get something from the bank that says this property's now been sold and this was a selling price?
Usually, yeah, if it's our
Yeah.
town.
Okay.
If it's our town
So,
property.
so that could be what he's looking for.
But that would be land record
Yeah.
research that he would have to
He
come in
could
and
do.
do.
That's
Right.
right.
That's right. I mean, it's
So
not
you
like
could
that's
invite
not like
him to,
every time a
That's what it
property
is.
is sold
Search the
like that,
land
you're gonna,
records.
oh, well, we're gonna note this somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I could tell him to wait until they're digitized and then he can simply access them.
Good.
Or just don't respond.
That's underway.
So I've learned that like the city is pretty large. They keep a list, not of excess funds, but of tax sale properties
Okay.
that are going up for tax sale. Because they
Yeah.
don't have any, and I often have to tell people, we don't have any tax sale properties.
Well, we've got the one. We haven't closed on yet.
And we had the,
29 acres.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
But-
but.
it's not like it's,
They don't exist here, so.
not like you have one or two properties every year that go
Yeah,
up for
no.
tax sale. You know, every few years you might
You
get one.
have a
Well, we
couple
had-
options, don't
we
you?
had we have another one that was going to be in the process that I had talked to the board about, but I since managed to work out a negotiated
Right, so-
agreement
so
with
the
those
city, I
people
think,
and we're getting
They have a
we're
lot
getting
more.
paid. In
Yeah.
6 months, it'll be paid up, 30,000, and that's a lot of money.
I'm thinking this is
well, okay.
relative, looking for some money that
Yeah,
somebody
there-
got.
yeah, it's a fishing
didn't get their
expedition.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well,
Okay, are you okay with our,
I'm fine.
okay,
Just when things do resolve, I would appreciate knowing what the disposition is, because if I'm supposed to keep a record of that, then
And we'll see what happens.
yeah, we'll check and see
Thanks.
who's supposed to be keeping the record.
right.
We don't run into it very often, as you know, we don't run into it very often.
Well, that's because we're a well-run town with reasonable taxes.
It looks like some counties maintain these lists, but in Vermont, as far as I know, it'd be state unclaimed property, but
Well, that'd be interesting.
Just to
That's
let you
fair.
know, the board know for calculation sake, since you're dealing with the bonding and available funds and so forth, that as of right now, we're at about 353,000 of collected delinquent taxes since March. So-
Okay, good.
And that's going up
Excellent.
because I've got 2 or 3 more that are fairly substantial that are gonna be coming in, so
Okay. Good.
hopefully we can,
And we will need to know that as we're putting the budget together, so, you know, if I should forget to ask, and you happen to.
no,
think
I'll
of-
have a
Okay.
more detailed
Okay.
report for the board
Yeah, please.
at the. And it's good to see you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good luck. The project looks great. I've been checking on it myself.
I bet.
I was in the gate was left open, or somebody had snipped the wire because it was supposed to be left shut. And I found it wide open yesterday.
Yeah.
Must be after you had seen it,
I
Joe.
was,
and
yeah, it was
closed it.
10:30 last night. I shut it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was open again?
Yeah, it was 10:30. It was open.
Because I shut it earlier in the
Somebody
day.
wandering around looking.
Yeah,
Oh.
when was it? Is it cable shut, like chain shut, or is it just a latch?
No, it's a piece of electrical wire that's wrapped around on both ends that it would take pretty serious amount. Somebody had to unwind it.
Yeah.
though, But
Yeah.
Sometimes those quick fences, they sit there moving the
Yeah.
breeze, so.
Well, the VMS guy had told me that the only reason that they had the thing put up to begin with was for liability problems to protect us, really.
Yeah. well, this, yeah, any.
Somebody
any
going
building
in
site
there and
has to be
falling in
secure.
that
The open hole.
open
Yeah.
hole.
And it was a really big hole for a little while. But they had that portion of it is interior is also screened off, fenced off. So
Yep.
they have double fence. You'd have to go through two. to
Plus
get
the
to it.
boulders to stop any cars from driving into any of the other ones. No,
People still going there.
Oh, yeah.
People still
All
on
right.
the hole.
So
Any
do we
case.
have other things under?
Good
other
evening.
business? Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.
And if you want an update on litigation or negotiations, this would be maybe a good time to go into executive session.
Is that all we got left?
Yeah. Anybody else got anything? There was something from Bill about increasing our premium for the League of Cities and Towns. Did you get that too? No?
Is this the thing
Oh,
about?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it about the premium or is it about the coverage?
Well, it's the both.
Hey, Don.
Yep.
It's the coverage goes up to 10 million for a modest additional contribution of $400. Do we deal with this or just, I don't know what the
Part
hell this
wasn't
is
in this
about.
copy.
Huh?
I was very confused when I read
This copy has no prices.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
okay.
say,
Well, I have a little sticky note, which of
What
course
this
is how
says,
we-
it says that because of that, PC Board of Directors established a lower coverage limit of 200 per occurrence many years ago. Since this reduced limit differs from the standard auto liability of 10 million per occurrence, Vermont Department of Finance has requested that each man corrects as the cover. So we have to just tell them what coverage limit we want.
Right.
So the standard was 10 million. And now they established a lower limit many years ago of 250,000 per. That's a pretty big,
That's a big gap.
that's a big gap. I'm not,
imagine the standard's 10 million, because my policy is nowhere near 10 million per
No.
occurrence.
no, I mean,
And I got pretty good insurance.
usually it's like $1 million.
Million or now
Million or
2
two.
million for some.
One to
I
Per,
think.
per occurrence,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
per
mean,
That
occurrence
was
is
one of
normally
the
$1 million,
bugaboos
2
in
million
the
total.
snow plowing
That's
contract.
right. Because
that we-
it was 1 versus 2 and we reduced it back to
Or
1.
did we want 3 and you couldn't get
Maybe
3
that was
in,
it.
so
and
we
it went
settled
to
on 2
Yeah.
or whatever, but
Okay.
I don't know what the 10 million unless that's
You
a,
know, why don't we see if we can ask Bill to
get
look
a
into it?
little more
We don't
information,
need
bef-
to deal with it tonight.
something that we can,
Okay.
oh, look at this, this must be.
Do you
a
want
budget
to
sheet.
talk about a couple of pending litigation things?
Yes.
So
Okay.
moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session for the purpose of, you just turn it off.
Discuss,
Or pause it.
No, why don't you turn it off? Because if we come out and we do a motion, which I don't know whether we will or not, we can always do a
And no,
hand note to Bill about what to include.
I, right?
Bye, Marcia.
Don't we need an I before she turns it off?
aye.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Aye.
There you go.
Motion carries. We're
Now
in
you gotta
executive
record.
session. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Carrie. I just turned. I don't know, the last
Not
time
gonna
I just
jump
turned
out
off
and bite you.
everything.
I don't.
I even
It's on
closed the
mute.
laptop, which probably really annoyed
Why
him,
is it
but
new?
We did something new.
I don't know how you.
Because
How do we know
because it
it's
was so
Marcia's
bad
fault?
the last, it's still recording. Or did the recording shut off?
yeah, well,
No, it
maybe
says
the-
it's, I think it's still on, isn't it?